William Nylander notches his second career hat trick as he powers the Buds past the Flames. Let's break down the victory and discuss if Mitch Marner's injury could cost him four nations. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. What's happening, Dave? How we feeling?
Feeling good. Late night, but it was worth it. Worth it altogether.
Definitely worth it. Maple Leafs with a 6-3 win over the Calgary Flames. I don't know, I was going to say Florida Panthers. Over the Calgary Flames last night. Bit of a chaotic game, I would say, kind of from start to finish. There was a lot going on. There were some goals wiped off the board early, but we saw a lot of offense, a lot of goals. Saw some bad goaltending at times, and certainly saw both teams being quite careless in the penalty department as well. But either way, the Maple Leafs found a way to grind out a victory. It's their second win in a row. They sweep Alberta, and I guess this game will probably be known as the Willie Nylander game, Dave.
Absolutely. Calgary native William Nylander.
Bill from Calgary, as I like to call him. Bill.
Yeah, he wants to show the home crowd what they've been missing from William Nylander. And I think they were saying it's a year ago he got his first career NHL hat trick. So
8 years ago. 8 years ago to the day. 2017. 8 years ago.
So we're in 8 years we're gonna get the next one. Is that we're supposed to be expecting?
If this guy's still scoring hat tricks in 8 years, at the end of that contract, the Leafs got full value out of that deal. That I can tell you.
It's nice. I mean, he's always scored a bunch of 2-goal games, so it's not like hat tricks aren't in the cards for Willie. But I think it was kind of fitting just the way that game ended on his stick, given the way that this game was going and how much they needed the goals from him in this game. It was, obviously it was a 6. You get 6 goals, and it's like, well, you kind of needed all 6 goals because this was a tight game, even though when it looked like the Leafs were pulling away, Calgary was keeping it close, right? And so, they needed every insurance goal they could get in this game.
Oh, for sure. And, you look at the way that he scored that it's so funny. When Willie wants something, he can do it. When Willie is driven, he can be one of the best players on the planet. And he was driven to strip the puck and get himself a breakaway and score and get the hat trick. You could tell right away that the second he engaged, I can't remember who was on defense, but the second he engaged with them on defense, he was getting that puck and he was going down the ice and he was going to score. That's exactly what ended up happening. But to your point, he's the one who got it all started on the power play, right? It was a beautiful feed from Knies. The power play, it's now cooking red hot over the last 8 games. And that's really what got things rolling here with 2 quick goals. They were down 1-0, and then they scored 2 quick in the second period to go up 2-1, thanks to a couple power play goals. But it was William Nylander who finally got the party started, and he bookended, I guess, the Maple Leafs goal scoring train with the first and the final goal of the game. But we talk about a big reason, and look, I do my covers.com betting previews before every game. And, I talked about in today's preview at the power play market. So if you bet power play points over on FanDuel, you must have done pretty well because, well, on both sides, the Leafs and the Calgary Flames were successful in the power play. But I knew that was going to be a big, the Leafs are going to have to find success here to win tonight's game, and they get 2 goals on the power play, and it's now 44.4% success rate since January 15th. This thing all of a sudden is red hot, Dave.
It is, and tonight especially, like you look at the second power play goal, everyone was talking about how quick they scored. Generally, in a power play, some teams, they like to wear down the penalty killers. They were just on for a power play, so the penalty killers that went on for the Flames were already tired, and so like that puck movement was like, wow, what's the word I'm looking for here? That like it was
beautiful,
methodical, right? Or like it was crisp, it was quick. Pelicans couldn't they couldn't track it, right? Tape to Tavares in front, goal. And where did that goal come from? Middle of the ice.
Yep.
And like that's something we've been talking about, right? If you're not going to have that point presence, because we know the Leafs lack that point presence, you better be winning the battle in the slot area, the front net battles. That's exactly what they did.
Well, look at the majority of the goals that were scored tonight. They're all scored from, the center of the ice or right out in front. Like you look at Tavares's goal, you look at, obviously, the one Nylander goal, you look at Matthew Knies crashing the boards or crashing the net. He scores off of a puck that was sitting there. So like the Maple Leafs has scored a couple of goals that way tonight. Then Bobby McMann, he had a nice little rush goal himself. But overall, I thought that it was a pretty solid game out of the Leafs. I thought they defended pretty well. A little bit of a slow starter, but they got going and this thing got a little chaotic and there's a lot of back and forth. Once this game really got going in the second period, I thought it was quite entertaining, to be honest with you. And, Leafs picking up a valuable 2 points, especially with Ottawa not winning tonight. So Ottawa didn't gain any ground. The Leafs picked up another couple points and they get closer to Florida now. So closer to first place, who also lost. So now closer to first place than third place in the division, which we obviously love to see. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to the 3 stars of the game, continue to break down the Maple Leafs 6-3 win over the Calgary Flames, and all without Mitch Marner, might add. What's his status moving forward? We'll get to that also next on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sporting event, find the right ticket at the right price. Can be a headache, but with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Game Time Picks for a while now, and here's a couple of reasons why I love it. The curated deals make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options. I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I couldn't believe the value. It was an absolute steal, and the seat view feature is a game changer. Before I even hit buy, I could see exactly what my seat was going to look like right before I purchased it. It's honestly so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. It takes the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf centric podcast each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with myself, Mike DiStefano, and Dave Morassutti, bringing you everything you need to know about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Tonight, they're coming off a 6-3 victory over the Calgary Flames. They moved to 2-0 on the Western road trip ahead of the Four Nations face-off. Next stop will be in Seattle, but let's not turn the page just yet. We do this after each and every win, Dave. We'll go through the 3 stars of the game. We'll start with the first star. Who'd you give it to?
Oh, you got to give it to the hat-trick boy.
Yeah.
The Calgary native, William Nylander.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of, when you look at the goals he scored tonight, like, all different, right? You got the power play goal where, I don't know, probably best to not leave William Nylander on an island on the power play. I would say. So that was good for Nylander there. Nice play by Matthew Knies to draw the defenders and find Willie open there. The second goal off the rush, he Dustin Wolf feel bad for him because he's like, I got to respect Nylander, but I also got John Tavares driving on the right side against me. And the third goal was the most, in my opinion, was the most impressive one. You're out there in the final minute. Usually the best thing you can do is play offense if you're William Nylander. And, he's done this how many times to defenders where he steals the puck or he beats them on a breakaway opportunity and he puts it in. It was kind of an icing on the cake of what's a good William Nylander game. Oh, lost you.
Yeah, 100%. It's exactly what it was, right? Bookended the game with goals for Toronto, and it's just, a little bit of everything. Like William Nylander, when you need a spark, like he's there to give it to you, and he's someone who just continues to elevate his game year after year. I mean, we're looking at a guy tonight who scored goals number 31, 32, and 33. Like, we're just at the beginning of February, and he's sitting there with 33 goals already. I mean, this guy's only a couple goals off of Leon Draisaitl in the goal-scoring lead. He's currently second now, put himself into second place in the Rocket race. It's been fantastic what we've seen from him. What's he got, like 8 goals his last 9 games? The heater that he's on against Calgary, like, if this guy could play Calgary 82 games a year, the guy would beat Gretzky's records. Like, it's insane. He's got 21 points in 9 games against the Flames. It's insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then he goes and pops off a nice little hat trick tonight to continue those incredible numbers. So yeah, William Nylander was great. He was the best Maple Leaf on the ice, the most lethal one for sure. And when he's dancing the way that he was, the Leafs are usually in a pretty good spot. All right, who's your second star, Dave?
I got to go with the power play.
Yeah, same.
That first period was, they got off to a good start. The Tavares goal gets overturned, and it was like they lost. Like that kind of galvanized Calgary a bit there. Calgary's okay with, we got a pretty good break that went our way. Let's make the most of it. They take the lead. I didn't really like the way the Leafs responded after the Tavares goal. After the Tavares goal was waved off, but what brought it all together was the power play, and this is what you expect from this Leafs power play. I think it's what I liked about it is wasn't one player holding onto the puck and trying to make something. It was quick movement,
tempo, move the puck up, down, side,
taking perimeter shots.
Yeah,
right. Or if you are going to take a shot, along the boards, you're doing it with quick movement, so the goalie can't react to it. And you won the net front battle, right? Like Tavares winning the net front battle on his goal. So I think this is what you need to see more of with this Leafs power play. And look, I know that it was mentioned on the broadcast. They've had the best power play since January 15th.
Yep.
It's not a massive sample size, but it's a good trend. It's trending in the right direction.
8 games, right? So that's an 8-game sample size, and 44.4% since January 15th. So we're trending in the right direction. And it's funny, Dave, because I remember a year ago, or not even a year, but in the summer when they hired Mark Savard out of Calgary, I remember looking at the splits, thinking to myself, if you broke down the first half and the second half of the Flames power play last year, remember, he was an assistant coach in Calgary a year ago. It was very similar, where the first half numbers were bad. It was like 18% or something like that. But then the second half numbers, I think the Flames in the second half had like a 28% power play. We're seeing the Leafs kind of figure things out here. Yep. And maybe you're seeing Mark Savard figure things out and how to utilize these players and, utilize, what they want to do and figure out a game plan. In the last 8 games, we're seeing it happen. It's been a couple multi-goal efforts as well from the power play. When you can score multiple goals on the man advantage, you're going to win a lot of games. But tonight it was crisp. It was deliberate, and it had to be. It's funny though, like the stat that keeps getting thrown out there, right? Maple Leafs best power play since January 15th. Guess what they have the worst since January 15th?
Kill.
Worst penalty kill also since Jan 15th. 60% kill rate since January 15th. And that was a tough situation tonight, giving up a couple 5-on-3s. They got to stay out of the box, figure out a way to keep their sticks on the ice, not in the face of the opposition. But yeah, they battled through that, and the power play for sure, to me, got my second star as well. I'm curious to see. I bet you we're going to differ here on a third star, because I could have went 3 different directions. Where did you end up going with your third star tonight?
Oh, I went with Bobby McRocket. But I continue to be so impressed with Bobby McMann. Probably the best contract on the Leafs right now in terms of value.
Yeah, bang for buck for sure. It's got to be.
Did you hear the Joe Bowen call on his goal?
Well, technically, isn't Matthew Knies still making league min? But anyways, I get your point.
Okay, how about not on an ELC deal?
Fair. All right.
Because Matthew Knies will no longer be on a ELC after this year.
No.
Like, just listen to Joe Bowen's call was great on the Bobby McMann goal, but he's doing this. Look at the players he's playing with. He played with tonight Pontus Holberg and Nick Robertson, who, I'm sorry, it's not. I'm just not loving what I'm seeing from those guys right now. And on that goal, it wasn't even them he was on the ice with. He took a shift with the fourth line. It was Steven Lorentz. The dude's putting up this production. He's not even. I know he's spent time up in the top 6, but he's not seeing regular ice time with the big boys. He's not seeing top power play time. He's had short spurts of it, but he's making the most of the minutes he's out there.
Yeah, I mean, tonight I thought that third line played well, and it was obviously headlined by Bobby McMann. But like you look at Robertson, Holmberg, and McMann, just taking a peek on natural stat trick, just at the underlying numbers. They played 625 together tonight at 5-on-5, 86% Corsi rating. Their shot share was 13-2. In terms of scoring chances, they outscored the opposition 7-1 and had an expected goals of 93%. So they played well tonight. Now, I'll say Bobby McMann is a big reason for it, the way that he was able to hunt down pucks and keep, possessions alive with second, third chance opportunities. I thought Nick Robertson played decently well. He had a good stick a couple of times tonight to jar pucks loose and keep plays alive. But yeah, the third line I did like. I thought they played well, and obviously McMann was the top dog there. But I really liked Matthew Knies' game, and it's becoming, so evident that Matthew Knies is going to be part of this team's future for many, many years. And he's up to 20 goals now. He scored tonight. Why did he score, Dave? What did he do?
Went to the net.
Went to the net. You go to the net, good things are going to happen, right? Austin Matthews makes a good power move, and he gets stopped, but it takes the goaltender out of position, and Matthew Knies notices it, pounces on it, quickly gets there, and pokes it into the back of the net. And that was a big goal. Made it 5-2 and kind of sealed the deal on the game in a way from that perspective. So it was a big-time goal, and, he assisted on the William Nylander first goal on the power play, so 2-point night. And just look at the amount of time that he had tonight. You look at his stat line. It's actually kind of impressive when you look at it. A goal and an assist. So 2 points, 3 shots on goal, couple of hits. Guy played 23 minutes tonight. 23 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. He led all players, not just forwards, but all players in ice time tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Matthew Knies was used in a lot of situations and really, really, I thought, had himself a heck of a game. So want to give him some love with the third star.
Yeah, I thought it's almost like him and Bob McMann play similar styles. I think Knies is he likes to go to the net a bit more. He plays a little more of a simpler game. But they both kind of present that what this Leafs team really needs to be successful. It's the big body. It's the front presence, right? Off the rush, defenders are probably going, how do I deal with this massive human being that I have to now defend? Like that, those are, I was in a group chat, and like after the Bob McMann goal, my few buddies were just like that's something that they missed and that were needed in the playoffs. Matthew Knies is also like essentially the same thing too. That's what you need come playoff time. There's a reason why this Leafs team struggled when not just Tavares out of the lineup, but Knies out of the lineup. So if you're looking at what this Leafs team could potentially look to add come the trade deadline, especially up front, size would probably be one of the criteria if I'm Brad Treliving. You can go and add scoring. Yes, you can go and find a playmaker, but you probably want to get someone with some size, right? That and a little bit of versatility that can play up and down the lineup.
Oh, yeah? Was there a specific name in the broadcast that stood out to you when they did that question in the quiz that you like as a possible deadline acquisition?
I didn't. I understand the Nick Bukestad idea that Dreger threw out there. I just think that I don't know if he has that offensive punch that the Leafs need. He has the size, that's for sure. The Scott Laughton one, I was never really in favor of Scott Laughton, but I'm kind of seeing how the Flyers dealt with Farabee and Frost makes me think maybe Scott Laughton comes a bit cheaper than expected. I doubt it. I think it's funny. Somebody said that the Flyers are treating him like Sidney Crosby in terms of his trade value. I don't like to hear that. Like that's someone that's going to cost you at minimum. Like they're going to ask for like a Fraser Minton plus in a deal,
or a pick, like a first round pick. They could potentially ask for that as well. The Leafs also have a second this year, technically, which I think it's Florida's second, so it's probably going to be a late 2 at the end of the day. But yeah, the Leafs don't have a whole lot to give up, but we'll see if any of them can. We'll see what they can muster up. You know, they're going to make a deal of some kind. They'll figure it out. They usually do. All right. Getting it done, though, without Marner is a pretty impressive feat considering how special he's been for this team all season long. And you know, putting up a 6th spot in Calgary at that without Mitch Marner was impressive. How long will he be out? Is he in jeopardy of missing the Four Nations tournament? We'll talk about that on the other side. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Super Bowl 59 is here. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action, and with live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet, potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's just icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5. And if you win, you'll score yourself $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Network. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. The podcast is free and available wherever you get a podcast from. For you on-the-go audio listeners, you can also watch us on YouTube as well. If you're enjoying the conversation, you want to stay up to date with what's going on with the Maple Leafs every single day of the week with a 5-day-a-week show, subscribe to us on the Locked On Leafs podcast, wherever you get a podcast, and also on YouTube. All right, the latest on Mitch Marner, who missed today. It was reported, or he missed practice yesterday, and it was pretty well thought that he was going to miss the game. He did, in fact, not play against the Calgary Flames. What's his status, though, Dave, you think, moving forward?
Well, Berube kind of talked about it after the game. He said that he was improved today, like they felt he was getting better, but now they're gonna kind of wait and see how he feels for Thursday. So like I think there's could be a good chance he's back Thursday, and I know that they're talking about what this means for his future kind of for the Four Nations. I think
we'll get there in a sec. We'll get there in a sec.
But I think Thursday, the fact that they said that he was improving makes me feel like Thursday. It all depends on. I think tomorrow is an off day, so or actually technically today, right in between the Wednesday Thursday game. So Thursday will be the big indicator of if he's out there for. I guess they would do a morning skate, see where he's lying there, right? If he's there for the morning skate, I think it's a good chance he comes back.
If he does not come back, though, Dave, now, based on all reporting, is that this is not a serious injury. This little bump bruise, just kind of trying to, not something that you want to risk and have him play through and re-aggravate. But if it's bad enough for him to sit out a game tonight and potentially sit out another game on Thursday, again, we'll see. At what point does his status in Four Nations start to kind of become more of a louder conversation? Like if he's dealing with something, I don't want him playing through anything through that tournament that starts next week. Even if it's just a little bump bruise, that don't matter. If he's missing games for the Maple Leafs, he really should not be thinking about playing games for the Maple Leaf, if you catch my drift.
He has to be back. Like if he does not play in Saturday's game, I'd be like, then why? Yeah, he has to look at the long term. This is also a player who missed a good chunk of games last year because of an ankle injury. Now they're specifying a lower body injury. You can kind of point to say, could be an ankle issue, and that's the last thing you want to hear with Marner after that ankle sprain took him out for a long time. And from what we heard, impacted his performance in the playoffs. So, Mitch, this is a year where you have a lot on the line, contract-wise, and all those things. Is it worth it for the Four Nations? Right? Like that's kind of the conversation. And he's not the only one, right? There's a lot of players that are kind of in that. Alex Pietrangelo still playing games for Vegas, but is dealing with an injury that he feels is not worth playing for Team Canada. Quinn Hughes is another player that's kind of in the same boat as Marner, where he's missed games, might be back, but the Canucks are like, well, you're our MVP. We don't have you. We're not going far, right? We're in a playoff race. We need you. So those are the sort of tough decisions, right? This is why NHL owners have always been very weary of players going to the Olympics. I know it's because some will say it's because they don't get the revenues from it, but it's also for this reason. You get a player who's hurt and it impacts your team chances to make the playoffs. You're not going to be also thrilled about that. I know this is an NHL run tournament, but it's still a tournament that impacts how the rest of the season could go for an NHL team based on a player's health.
100%. So it's going to be interesting next couple of days here in Toronto. If he plays Thursday and looks fine, I'd imagine this conversation quiets pretty quickly. Yeah. But if he doesn't play Thursday, that's a loud discussion Friday heading into the final weekend before the Four Nations break. That's for sure. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see, Dave. No point in speculating and getting our panties in a bunch here over it until I guess we get more information and find out exactly what happens over the course of the next few days. Hopefully he's healthy. He can play next week, like you're playing the next game. As you said, Coach Berube did allude to it after the game. He's hoping that he will play in Seattle. And if that's the case, then I'm sure all will be well. All right. Anything else you want to get into before we skedaddle?
No, I think didn't really see anything else noteworthy today. Just checking my last minute notes here. Nope. I think we'll see what the Leafs have. I do wonder if we do see Dakota Mermis at some point in this road trip. Because I don't know if I'm loving Connor Timmins and Simon Benoit, how they've been playing on that third pairing.
Possibly. Could possibly get a Mermis look at some point, yes. Although OEL return to the lineup was definitely
Yeah, they needed him.
Good to see. Yeah, so that was good to see. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.